really is a talented class. I know every year we come up and coaches, you ask how your class was in any sport, and especially football, they're never going to say, well, it was an awful class. I mean, they're never going to say that. And I really feel like this is a group where there's some really talented young men in it. They're going to be really, really good football players here, and I think there's some really good students as well in it. So a couple of just glaring things right off the bat, that are, to me, I'm not going to go through all 24 or whatever we have listed there because that could take forever, but 3 really good corners. I think we were our roster was certainly corner depleted a little bit, and to me we had 3 really talented kids, various ranges of ability and maybe rawness on whether they're ready to go or not yet, but all 3 of them have potentially really good football players. We went to the 3-4 2 years ago, and I don't know if we have enough linebackers, and we signed a class of about 6 linebackers. Okay, we have a couple D linemen that are going to be good in that group. Actually, the whole program too, as far as tackle bodies, and 3 kids that are legit tackle frame kids, that are going to be really good, offensive tackles here, and then a local lineman that has been playing tackle, but he's probably going to be a guard, who I think was the best offensive lineman or / defensive lineman in the area. To me, Jacob Olson was a kid we tabbed as that guy and went and got him. A couple good running backs, some receivers in the group. Had to me, a quarterback of the future kind of kid. So there's a lot of people in there. There's a couple transfers in there you'll notice. We actually, a young man that's already here, Brandon McCracken. We signed him at mid-year. He's here, big kid. He's actually less of a big kid over the last 3 weeks of our off-season program. I noticed it yesterday. I said, "You're a little skinnier, Brandon." And he goes, "Yeah, I am." But he's going to add some depth inside on our D-line. There's actually a couple kids that we signed out of an Iowa junior college, Evan Davis, and then Tyree Graves out of Highland, just down the road a little ways. I think could probably play either inside or outside on the D-line. So a couple quarterbacks that transferred mid-year we didn't scholarship, but they're kids that could compete and help us. And Corey Bertini from Iowa Central, and a kid named Mike Powell, who's a transfer from Winona, that will really give us the quarterback depth we need. So without further ado, I'm ready for questions.
Without further ado, questions? Talk about just some of the needs you went after in this class, and did you fulfill what you wanted to get done out of this class?
I think so. It's again, you've heard me say this too, where it's, I don't know that you look for needs with high school kids, but there were some places we felt like depth-wise we weren't as good as we should, and I talked about them already: corner, tackle, and just linebackers. I think we got that done. The tackles themselves, a gigantic human, Dennis Barber. I know it looks like I'm saying something funny in there, but he actually is an opera singer. He's a guy that could probably going to be scholarshiped by, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but according to him, they should scholarship him in music. He was way more opinionated about his music abilities than he was his football abilities. But Dennis is, I think we got him listed 6'6". I don't think he's that. I think he's taller than that. He fills a doorway, and he's a guy that he reaches his potential. Honestly, could end up a pro prospect in that category. Tanner Jenkins out of Mill Valley, which is a real successful program. Then in Kansas was Kansas City, Kansas was a state champion. Big frame kid, big legs. Isaiah Colbert's a kid we targeted early. So really feel good about the O-line class. And then the 3 corners that I mentioned earlier, Ray Wilson's a kid that actually came to our blue-gray camp that always comes here in April, and loved him then. And he's a kid, honestly, that could play really, really fast. He has those kind of tools. I don't want to put too much pressure on him, but he could play next year. He's that kind of kid. I mean, a red shirt. Tim Hall out of Rockwood Summit is in St. Louis, going to be really, really good. And Sam Webb, a kid out of Excelsior Springs, who's just a little more raw, could get bigger and become something different, but is an explosive athlete. So those, including Jacob Olson, those 7 kids, or 7, that's the math, look like they have a chance. Another kid that's, to me, is a real sleeper in the group is, and myself and Andy Ball. Andy Ball's been there twice and claims he got lost, was on a dirt path, got backed up once or twice, had to be pointed in there going into Mountain View, Missouri. Mountain View, Missouri, yes, there's a Mountain View, Missouri. Didn't see any mountains and there was no view, but it was deep in the forest of southern Missouri, and myself and Coach Ball drove out there to see him. But Cale Kornman is one of those truly a diamond in the rough, and I think we're really fortunate. I think people slept. I'm not sure why we didn't have a whole lot of competition for him. He's 6'3", 225. When we were waiting in the gym, we saw him come out in the hall and just saw him. I said, "Ooh, that's him." You can just see it. And he could play anywhere. Right now, he's an inside linebacker. He's good at that. He could be an outside linebacker. He might, God in him may turn him into a D end. And he's a kid that could maybe be a starter at D end. So we think he's really, I don't want to just say he's the crown jewel of it, but he's that kind of diamond in the rough kind of kid that we're really, really excited about.
For some junior college players the last few years that haven't worked out, like you wanted.
Correct. These better, yeah.
Do you feel like some of these D linemen that you're going to bring in, that they're ready to go?
Yeah, I think so, and we need him to be. And again, I have a lot of faith in what Wes does as a D-line coach, but McCracken is, he's going to have a hard time beating out Joe Betcher, who's good, the kid we have there already, and Joe Betcher's going to be a great football player, but I think Brandon gives us that extra depth guy on the inside of our 3-4, and then the two kids we signed, Graves, the kid we had actually here in December, he could be, he plays hard and can make plays. He's got a size where he could get bigger. We don't need him to, but he's going to be a good football player on the edge. And then Evan Davis could stand up and be a 3-4 outside linebacker, but he's a good pass rush kind of kid. And again, I think with coaching and part of getting better when you have good coaches is to be coachable too. And so that part we don't know for sure yet how coachable they'll be. We assume they will be, but if they are, they're going to get better, become better players.
You expect most of the class to redshirt, you said?
It's like I tell every recruit, we tried to redshirt 100% of them, and I think we really achieve about 90% of them. Last year Joe had to play a little bit when Arbanis and Brody would get tired, and then obviously Tanner Pettit was our kicker last year. So I'd venture to say that, but I do think at corner potentially that could happen. Honestly, if Dennis Barber meets some more requirements, I'm trying to say that the right way, he's got a shot, to actually start. He's that kind of talent.
Talk about the quarterback spot. A couple of transfers, a freshman from Iowa, obviously Skyler back, but did you feel like you needed to get more depth at that position with what happened? Well,
yeah, because TJ has a bruised brain, and Nate Wilson is done, and so we don't have the depth we need, and the transfer kids, in both cases, Mike Powell and Corey Bertini kind of reached out to us. I don't know if Throck kind of stumbled upon Corey, but Corey is 6'3", 215, throws it well and really runs well. I mean, he may run, I'm going to offend some folks, but he may run better than any quarterback we've had here in recent vintage as far as just out-and-out straight line speed. He's a big, good-looking kid. And then Mike Powell's a kid that was at Winona State, had a really serious, freaky accident that hurt him and he was in a quarterback hunt. So those are kids that are going to come in and challenge and push. And to me, you can already see Skyler a little bit where he's starting to change a little bit. I'm not sure. Is that your phone? What's going on there? Bob, is that yours? No. Okay. So, and then Ben Firkin, and you can tell that's a name we're going to have a lot of fun with. We better not coach Ben when we're yelling and screaming at him. But let's say his last name, I should say. But Ben Firkin is a kid that has a lot of polish to him, throws a great ball, has a real presence. Like I said, can really spin it. He does remind a little bit. He doesn't look like him, but it's that same style of what Drew Newhart was. That kind of not real tall, but has a great pocket presence, can move. Probably runs a little better than Drew, but I don't know if we have all the sleight of hands pumping down the football field like Drew did. But he's going to be a good football player.
Not a ton of skill guys in this group, a couple running backs, a couple receivers, but not a ton of skill guys. Do you like what you have from last year's class and what you already have on your football? We felt
like we had a really good safety kind of year at DB. Receiver-wise, we're still kind of looking there a little bit, but there are some kids we like in that group. One young man, the head coach at Ray Peck, Tom Cruise, his son, Cole, who's grandma and grandpa Bob Thorpe at Lafayette forever and ever and ever. It's his grandson. He's going to be a really good football player, and there's some good kids in that group. I mean, so there's going to be some kids that play. But yeah, we went into it running back wise. We feel pretty good about it. We felt like we wanted to get one guy for sure. J.D. Woods out of Lawrence is really fast. Could be a slot, could be a running back. We're maybe just a novelty at getting the ball different ways kind of guy, but he can run really fast. And then Cameron Henderson is again, I mentioned him real late in it, but he may be one of the best 2 or 3 overall football players in the whole group too, because he can play either side. Very violent defensive football player, but runs that way too at running back, and that's where we're going to have him. And the running back kids that we want to get this time were guys that, could play maybe if we start getting banged up. Obviously we have a lot of faith in what Josh did last year, Josh Caldwell, and we think Kendall Short's really good, but Kendall's had some injury issues. So another young man that transferred in a semester, I didn't talk about him, was Brock Broughton, was a kid out of Kearney that we recruited a few years ago. Western Illinois signed him. He's not on that list. But at mid-year we didn't have any money, but basically talked him into coming on and walking on, and he's a kid that could fit a lot of places at running back. Could be a slot receiver, actually ended up playing safety at Western Illinois. And played on special teams last year. So, again, I think we lost a pretty good senior class, but I think we really filled our roster up pretty well.